Have you ever been handed a blanket in your own daughter's house, told, "You'll be warm enough up there"? That was the moment I realized I was just a shadow in my own family. The attic stairs creaked as I dragged my suitcase past the laughter downstairs. From the kitchen, I caught glimpses of Chelsea's in-laws, gathered around her dining table, sipping sweet tea, trading inside jokes. I heard my daughter's voice, warm, bright, almost unfamiliar as she called her mother-in-law, Mom. My own name wasn't even mentioned. The air upstairs was icy, thick with forgotten memories and boxes marked, "Donate." I pressed my hand against the window pane, feeling the cold seep into my bones. My room. A narrow cot, a single light bulb, a dusty quilt tossed at the foot. Meanwhile, the guest rooms below were filled with fresh sheets and laughter. Every moment reminded me I was an afterthought. The family photo wall downstairs didn't even have my picture. I could hear Chelsea reassuring her husband's parents. "Your family here. Always." I tucked the lottery ticket deeper into my purse, its edges soft from weeks of waiting. No one cared where I slept, but tonight, just maybe, the jackpot news would turn everything upside down. If you've ever been left out by your own child, you'll know exactly what this feels like. But trust me, my story is just getting started. My name is Linda. I never imagined I'd be living in my daughter's attic at 63, listening to laughter drift up from rooms I used to call my own. It didn't start this way. When Chelsea was little, she was my shadow, always reaching for my hand, following me through the house, brightening every corner. I'd bake cinnamon rolls every Sunday morning, and she'd beg to lick the bowl, grinning up at me with icing on her nose. Those were the days when she looked at me like I was her entire world. I used to believe that bond would last forever. But things changed, slowly at first, almost too quietly to notice. After Chelsea married Evan, our Sunday mornings faded into hurried texts and quick phone calls. Then came Evan's mother, recovering from surgery, just staying for a few weeks. Weeks turned into months. Chelsea doted on her, making special teas, fluffing her pillows, calling her Mama H in a voice I hadn't heard since she was a teenager. I told myself it was kindness, that sharing her heart didn't mean she'd closed it to me. But soon after, Mr. Hartley joined them. My daughter assured me, "It's just temporary, Mom. They really need us." So I packed away the things I loved, my baking pans, my wedding photos, my favorite quilt, and handed over the master bedroom. I moved upstairs into the attic. Strange little things began to happen. Evan changed the Wi-Fi password and said he'd text it to me, but he never did. Mrs. Hartley filled the house with photos of her own grandchildren and vacations. Mine ended up in a cardboard box labeled Old Memories. Chelsea started to whisper on the phone, locking her door whenever I walked by. Evan snapped at me over laundry, saying, "Mom, you fold shirts wrong. Just let me do it." The kitchen, once my place of comfort, was suddenly off limits. "Don't cook tonight, Mom," Chelsea would say. "Dad Hartley's stomach is sensitive." My baking supplies vanished, replaced by unfamiliar teas and supplements. Even the family dog chose to sleep downstairs, curled at Mrs. Hartley's feet. Sometimes at night I'd hear muffled arguments from Chelsea's room, voices rising, then quickly falling silent when I tiptoed into the hall. I tried to bridge the distance, leaving notes like, "Dinner's ready if you're hungry," They stayed untouched. I'd find Chelsea alone, staring at old pictures with tears in her eyes. If I asked what was wrong, she'd force a smile. "It's nothing, Mom." You wouldn't understand. One afternoon, as I unpacked boxes in the attic, I found a card addressed to me, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Some things are better left unsaid. No signature, no explanation. That night I sat on my narrow cot, clutching the lottery ticket hidden deep in my purse. I realized I wasn't just losing my place in this house. I was quietly disappearing from my own daughter's life. But attics aren't just for forgotten things. Sometimes secrets find their way down the stairs. Have you ever felt the ground shift under your feet, like you no longer belong? If you have, tell me your story below. Sometimes the smallest cracks mean everything is about to change. I used to think that losing my place in my daughter's heart would feel like thunder. Loud, unmistakable. Instead, it was quiet. A series of small heartbreaks that nobody else seemed to notice. That first winter in the attic, the cold cut through every layer I wore. Evan bought a new space heater for his parents' guest room, but the attic remained drafty. A chill I couldn't shake. I bundled up in an old sweater, hands cupped around my coffee, listening to the sounds of life happening below without me. From upstairs, I could hear the rituals that were once ours. Sunday mornings filled with the smell of cinnamon, and Chelsea's laughter had turned into family brunches, Mrs. Hartley's recipes, her traditions. Sometimes I'd hear Chelsea ask, "Do you want more jam, Mama H?" The nickname stung. But I told myself not to make a scene. I tried to fit in. I'd set the table before anyone else woke, only to find Mrs. Hartley rearranging everything, whispering to Chelsea, "Your mother means well." At dinner, my stories were interrupted, my advice quietly ignored. Evan's father, Mr. Hartley, had opinions on everything, from how to load the dishwasher to how to invest savings. It became clear. My experience was out of style, my voice just background noise. It was the small, unexplained things that began to pile up. I noticed Chelsea's wedding photo had been moved from the mantel to a side table, half hidden behind a lamp. The family calendar, once filled with Chelsea's appointments and my reminders, now held only Hartley family birthdays and anniversaries. The pantry, once stocked with Chelsea's favorite snacks, now overflowed with herbal teas and crackers. Even my favorite mug was replaced. "By accident," Chelsea said, her eyes not meeting mine. Late one evening, as I climbed the stairs after hearing Chelsea's door slam, I caught pieces of a hushed argument. "You promised you'd talk to her," Evan's voice hissed. Chelsea whispered, "It's not that simple. She's my mother, Ev. She can't just stay here forever. This was supposed to be temporary." I froze on the landing, heart pounding. For a moment, I wanted to turn back, to pack my bags, and leave that very night. Instead, I waited until their voices faded, then went up to my attic and sat in the dark, clutching my secret lottery ticket until the edge cut into my palm. The next day, I tried to reclaim something. I baked Chelsea's favorite apple pie, left it on the counter with a note. A little taste of home. No one touched it. That night I found it in the trash, untouched but for a missing slice. The family dog had eaten it. A week later the house was busy. Mr. Hartley's brother and his wife were coming to stay. Chelsea apologized, barely looking at me. "Mom, could you maybe just keep to the attic for the weekend? It's going to be crowded." Her words were soft, but the message was clear. I nodded, smiling the way mothers do when we're breaking inside. It became harder to find my place, even in the attic. Boxes started appearing, labeled with my name. My baking pans, photo albums, my quilt, all packed away without a word. Chelsea's handwriting was on every label. "For storage," she said when I asked, but her voice was thin, distant. I kept busy with crossword puzzles and knitting, anything to pass the endless hours. Sometimes Dorothy, my oldest friend, would call. She knew something was wrong, but I never told her the whole truth. Instead, I'd say, "Oh, just adjusting to a full house." One afternoon, Dorothy's call ended with, "You deserve better, Linda. Don't let them freeze you out." The next morning, as I was cleaning, I found a prescription bottle in the trash with Evan's name on it, something I'd never seen before. I picked it up, curious, and saw words I didn't understand. When I set it aside, Chelsea rushed over, eyes wide, and snatched it from my hand. "That's not yours, Mom. Please respect our privacy." It was the first time she had ever spoken to me like that. That night I sat in the attic, ticket in hand, wondering how far a mother's love could stretch before it simply disappeared. Outside, the wind howled against the window, rattling the glass. The loneliness was heavy, almost suffocating. I wasn't just losing my daughter. I was being erased, memory by memory, one small act at a time. Yet even as I faded, I knew. Sometimes the most dangerous secrets are the ones we're too afraid to say out loud. There was still the lottery ticket, still the hope, the wild possibility that everything could change if I chose to speak. But for now, the attic would keep my secrets, and I'd keep waiting for the moment to set us all free. Have you ever felt like a guest in your own life, or held back a secret that could turn everything upside down? Share your story below. The biggest storms always start with a single crack. When the first heavy spring rain hit the roof, it sounded like the world was knocking, reminding me I was stranded above it all. Downstairs, the Hartleys debated vacation plans, and Chelsea laughed with them, an easy ringing sound that used to belong only to me. The attic, once my refuge, was turning into my island. I started to notice patterns. Chelsea stopped inviting me to join family events, and when I asked, she'd say, "It's just a small dinner, Mom. You've had a long week." I'd hear them all clinking glasses below, toasting new beginnings, their joy echoing up the stairs. Sometimes I'd catch a word that made my heart twist. "We're so lucky to have you here, Mrs. Hartley." Never Linda, never Mom. Boxes piled higher around me, my old cookbooks, Christmas ornaments Chelsea made in first grade, the faded quilt my mother gave me when Chelsea was born. I traced the stitching and remembered the promise I made to myself, to always make my daughter feel at home. Now I was the one exiled in the attic, clutching a secret that grew heavier every day. There were moments when Chelsea would visit, standing in the doorway, eyes darting away. "Do you need anything, Mom?" she'd ask. But before I could answer, her phone would ring, or Evan would call her. The door would close softly behind her. Sometimes I'd hear her crying at night. I ached to hold her, to fix whatever pain was behind those closed doors. But the walls between us only grew thicker. Evan's tension became harder to ignore. He came home late, avoided eye contact, grew short-tempered with Chelsea. Once, I heard him mutter, "If your mother wasn't here, maybe things would be easier." Chelsea snapped back, "She's family, Evan. I wish you could try harder." Their arguments grew sharper, then abruptly quiet whenever I entered the room. One afternoon, as I sorted through boxes, I found an old birthday card from Chelsea's childhood, her crayon handwriting wobbly but proud. "Best mom ever." I held it close, trying to remember how it felt to be loved like that. The attic window rattled in the wind, and I caught my own reflection, smaller, older, lonelier than I'd ever felt before. Then, the next shift, Chelsea forgot my birthday. For the first time in 33 years, no call, no cake, no mention. Instead, she and the Hartleys went out to dinner. Photos of them smiling at a steakhouse flooded her social media. I stared at the screen, waiting for a message that never came. I poured my heart into small gestures, leaving handwritten notes, picking flowers from the yard, baking treats Chelsea used to love. They always went untouched. The silence was louder than any fight. Dorothy called, sensing something was wrong. "Linda, you sound tired," she said. "Is everything all right up there?" I tried to laugh it off, but she pressed, "Don't let yourself disappear, my friend. People only treat you the way you let them." One day, as I changed the attic sheets, I spotted the prescription bottle again. Evan's name, a word I recognized this time. Testosterone. I realized with a jolt, the medicine wasn't Chelsea's. Pieces started clicking into place. The late nights, the sharpness in Evan's voice, the way Chelsea's shoulders slumped after phone calls. I tucked the bottle back where I found it, pretending I'd seen nothing, but my mind wouldn't let go. That night, as thunder rolled outside, I overheard a conversation through the vent. Chelsea's voice trembled. "Why can't you just tell them the truth? I can't keep lying, Evan." He shot back. "You want your parents to know? You want your mom, who already thinks you're failing, to know it's me? No, not ever." My heart cracked wider than ever. Chelsea was carrying a burden that didn't belong to her, and Evan was letting her take the blame. The truth felt like another cold wind pressing against the attic walls. I sat by the window, holding the lottery ticket, feeling the weight of every unsaid word. Secrets don't heal families. They just build walls. But the attic wasn't just for hiding. Sometimes it's where you finally decide to bring everything into the light. Have you ever carried a secret to protect someone else, only to lose yourself along the way? Tell me below, because some truths can't stay hidden forever. After the night I heard Chelsea begging Evan to tell the truth, something inside me shifted. I stopped hoping things would return to the way they were and started paying closer attention to the silences, to what was missing from our home, to the patterns no one else seemed to see. The attic, with its shadows and secrets, became my command post. Each morning I'd sit at the little desk by the window, pen poised over blank pages, trying to make sense of the stories playing out beneath me. Chelsea avoided me even more, her face tired, eyes red-rimmed. She moved like someone carrying invisible weights, smiling for her in-laws, shrinking from my touch. I watched Evan too. The way he stiffened when Chelsea spoke to me. The impatience when I stayed in the kitchen too long. The lingering looks at the prescription bottle he thought no one else noticed. Sometimes at night I'd hear him on the phone with his mother, whispering, We just need her out of here. It's too much." Then silence. Still, I tried to reach Chelsea. One day, I found her alone in the garden, tears streaking her cheeks as she dug at stubborn weeds. I knelt beside her, offering gentle words. "You're not alone, sweetheart." But she flinched, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I'm fine, Mom. Really." Her hands trembled. I reached for her, but she pulled away, staring at the sky. "Do you remember when you told me the truth always comes out? I wish it didn't." My chest tightened. "Whatever you're carrying, Chels, you don't have to do it alone." She looked at me for a long moment, something desperate flickering in her eyes. But before she could speak, Evan called from the porch, voice sharp. "Let's go! We're late!" Chelsea left, her shadow long and thin across the grass. Later that week, the Hartleys announced a family dinner. Everyone expected to be there. Chelsea barely spoke that day. When I offered to help cook, Mrs. Hartley replied, "Why don't you just rest upstairs, Linda? We have it covered." Rest upstairs. It was the kind of kindness that left me colder than any winter wind. Alone in the attic, I took out the lottery ticket again. I'd checked the numbers a dozen times. $4 million. A secret miracle. I'd played it for Chelsea, thinking if money could buy happiness, I'd do anything. I planned to tell her soon, to hand her a new chance at freedom, hope, and maybe a new family if she wanted it. But now, as I traced the worn paper, I wondered, would this secret heal or only hurt? That night, a knock at my attic door startled me. Chelsea stood there, shoulders hunched. "Can I come in?" I moved aside, my heart pounding. She sat on my cot, twisting her wedding ring. "I'm sorry for how things have been," she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I don't know how to fix it anymore." My voice shook. "You don't have to fix everything, Chels. Just talk to me. I'm your mother." Tears welled up. "I thought if I did everything right, if I kept everyone happy, things would work out. But Evan, he's not telling the truth. And I'm so tired, Mom." I reached for her hand, holding tight. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. But you can't keep sacrificing yourself for people who don't see you." Chelsea sobbed, years of pain flooding out. In that moment, for the first time in months, I felt like her mother again. But before she could say more, Evan's footsteps pounded up the stairs. He appeared in the doorway, glaring at us both. "Chelsea, we need to go. Now." She stood, squeezing my hand. "Thank you, Mom." After she left, I stared at the lottery ticket and realized the attic was no longer just a prison. It was a vantage point. I could see all the cracks in our family. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to do something about it. I began making plans. Quiet, careful, strategic. Sometimes healing means telling the truth no matter who it hurts. And sometimes quiet revenge is simply refusing to be erased. Have you ever kept a secret so powerful it could change everything? Sometimes the most dangerous games are played in silence. Share your thoughts below. You never know who needs your story. The days before the family dinner moved in slow motion. I went through them with an edge in my chest, like I was waiting for a storm everyone else refused to acknowledge. Downstairs, the Hartleys hummed with anticipation. Mrs. Hartley gave orders in her syrupy, sweet voice. Chelsea, don't forget to pick up the cake. Evan, please call Uncle Roger. I watched them from the attic window, their plans and laughter rolling right over me. Chelsea was a ghost, tiptoeing through her own home. She barely ate, barely slept, always jumping at sudden noises or the sharp sound of Evan's voice. Once, I found her in the laundry room, crumpled beside the dryer, clutching a torn hand towel. Her eyes met mine, wide, desperate, but she just shook her head and hurried away. That afternoon, as I folded away more of my life into attic boxes, I heard Evan's voice below, angry and low. She needs to stay out of it. She's making you weak, Chels. Chelsea's reply was too soft to catch, but when she came upstairs to fetch linens, her hands shook. "Mom," she said, "can you just not come down tonight? The Hartleys get anxious with too many people around." I nodded. The familiar ache in my chest deepened, but I kept my face neutral. If she needed me to be invisible for one more night, I would. But this time, I wouldn't disappear quietly. That evening, rain battered the attic windows. I sat on my cot, the lottery ticket between my fingers, reading the numbers over and over as if they might suddenly mean something else. I thought about the fortune hiding in my purse and how none of them, not even Chelsea, could guess what I held. From the vent, voices floated up. Evan, sharp and panicked. "I can't take this anymore. I'm not the bad guy. Why should I be the one to tell them? Let your mother play savior if she wants." Chelsea, voice trembling. "You're asking me to lie for you again. I'm tired, Evan. I'm so tired." Mrs. Hartley's voice cut in, brittle and cold. "Chelsea, honey, your mother has always been jealous. She's not happy unless she's the center of attention. Don't let her ruin tonight." I felt the words like a slap. All these years I'd bent over backward to give Chelsea space, to be gentle, to never outshine. But maybe that's what they all expected, that I would just fade, say nothing, never stand up for myself or my daughter. I made up my mind. Tomorrow night, at the family dinner, I would step out of the attic and into the light, no matter the cost. I hardly slept. When morning came, I dressed carefully, putting on the blue dress Chelsea used to call my lucky charm. I glanced in the cracked mirror. There was a glimmer of the woman I used to be. As the evening unfolded, the house buzzed with chatter and clinking glasses. I stayed upstairs at first, listening, waiting. When the laughter grew loudest, I slipped down the stairs, lottery ticket, and a small note tucked into my purse. I entered the dining room, just as Mr. Hartley was making a toast. All eyes turned, some surprised, some cold. "Mom? I thought you were going to rest," Chelsea said, her voice tight. "I think it's time I joined the family," I answered quietly. "After all, it's my family too." The silence was sharp. Evan's knuckles went white on his wineglass. Mrs. Hartley frowned. Chelsea just stared, caught between relief and fear. I looked at my daughter, truly looked at her, past the tired eyes and the polite smile, and saw a woman breaking under the weight of someone else's secrets. I set the lottery ticket, folded in its envelope, next to her plate. "Sometimes the attic is where we hide things that matter most," I said. "But not everything can stay in the dark forever." Evan's face drained of color. Chelsea's hands trembled. I stood tall, refusing to let anyone freeze me out one more night. "Some secrets are meant to come into the light," I said, my voice steady. And with that, I left the room, heart pounding, not with fear, but with the hope that finally, the truth would begin to heal. Have you ever had to step into the light, even when every voice told you to stay silent? Share your story below. The attic door is open now. What would you do next? I barely remember the silence that fell after I left that lottery ticket on the table. For a moment, it was as if time slowed, every face frozen in place, every conversation cut short. I watched Chelsea's hand hover over the envelope, her knuckles pale, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Mr. Hartley tried to recover first, raising his glass. Well, that was unexpected. His wife shot me a glare sharp as broken glass. Evan's jaw clenched so hard I worried he'd crack a tooth. All of them looked at Chelsea, waiting for her to do something, to explain my outburst. But my daughter just stared at the envelope, her breath caught, and for a heartbeat, I saw the little girl who used to run to me for comfort. Now, she looked lost. "I'm sorry," I said, voice trembling but clear. "But I won't stay hidden anymore. Not for anyone. Chelsea, you deserve to know what's really been going on in this house. You deserve to be free." Evan pushed back his chair so abruptly it screeched. "There's no need for this drama," he snapped. "This is supposed to be a family dinner." I met his gaze, refusing to flinch. "Families don't heal by pretending, Evan. Secrets poison us. I've watched Chelsea carry a burden that isn't hers." His face went red. "What are you talking about?" Chelsea's voice shook. "Evan, don't. Please." The room vibrated with tension. Mrs. Hartley interjected. "Linda, you're making a scene. Can't you just let things be for once?" I looked at my daughter. "You're not alone, Chelsea. Not now. Not ever. I see you. I know you've been hurting." Chelsea's hands fumbled with the envelope. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she glanced between her husband and me. She whispered, "I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of pretending." There was a pause, heavy with unshed tears and unspoken truths. And then everything broke. Evan shot to his feet, shouting, "Fine! You want the truth? I'm the reason we can't have a baby. Me, not her. And all this time, I let you blame her. I let you all look at her like she was broken, when it was me." He choked back a sob, collapsing into his chair. Stunned silence. Mr. Hartley's glass tipped, spilling red wine across the tablecloth. Mrs. Hartley's lips pressed into a thin, angry line. Chelsea let out a cry that sounded like a lifetime of pain. "You let me carry that alone," she whispered. "You let my own mother sleep in the attic while I tried to hold everyone together." Evan covered his face with his hands, voice muffled. "I'm sorry. I was ashamed. I just couldn't face it." Tears blurred my vision, but I made my way to Chelsea's side, wrapping my arms around her. "You were never alone, sweetheart. You never had to be." Chelsea sobbed into my shoulder, and for the first time in years, she clung to me. No walls left between us. The Hartleys looked away, uncomfortable, unsure. I reached for the envelope and pressed it into Chelsea's hand. "There's something else, too. I kept this a secret, hoping for the right time. but I don't want secrets anymore." Chelsea opened the envelope, eyes widening at the sight of the lottery ticket. "What is this?" "It's yours. I played for you. $4 million. A new start, if you want it." The room erupted with shocked gasps. Evan stared, speechless. Mrs. Hartley's face turned pale. Chelsea shook her head, tears running down her face. "You did this for me? All this time?" "All this time," I said, "because I wanted you to have a choice, to remember you're worth everything, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise." The attic wasn't just a place to be hidden. It was where I found my strength, where I realized no one gets to decide my worth, or my daughter's. Have you ever held on to a secret, hoping it would save someone you love? Or realized the bravest thing is simply telling the truth? Share your thoughts below. Sometimes breaking apart is the first step to healing. The house felt different in the days that followed. Not because all the wounds had healed, but because, for once, nothing was hidden. Evan apologized not just with words, but with action. He and Chelsea sat down together, making a real plan. Doctor's appointments, honest conversations, no more shame or blame. I watched my daughter and her husband, fingers interlaced across the table, united for the first time not just in their struggle, but in their hope. I stayed by their side, not to rescue, but to support. We made Sunday cinnamon rolls together, all three of us, laughter echoing through every room. The attic was empty now, but my heart was full. I can't say how their journey will end, but I know now healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about showing up, telling the truth, and walking forward together. Have you ever found your family stronger after facing the truth together? Or started a new journey without knowing the outcome? Share your story below. And join us for the next chapter, because every family deserves hope.